Okay, so maybe third time is a charm. I've already been live to do some practical live, mainly practical life and cleaning my easel. So you can watch those recordings without sound and some of them with sound. This one I hope to get through all of my art shelves, developmental aids, and language so that you can join me in getting those ready either live or later if you're actually with students this week. So here I am at my art shelf. So it's just as it was at the end of the school year, basically, except my lovely assistant has cleaned it all. And so I need to rotate out the art. So the first week or two, as we get to know the students, we'll have less art out than we will the rest of the year. We'll have 6 options instead of 8, and I'll have art that hopefully is somewhat familiar to the children. Hopefully, they've done at least one of these artworks, and then during our home visit, I do ask what artwork they like to do. So I'm going to switch out our markers. So we just had a little clipboard and markers out at the end of the year. Now, just a really simple setup that, those 16 months old can have success with. Easy to take to a table. Maybe they'll need help with a marking pen, but another child can do that as well as one of the adults. And paper. And you'll notice the contrast with the black and the white. That makes that white really pop so that they know, where to color. You could have a white tray with orange construction paper. A lot of ways to do this, but that's my setup for the beginning of the year. The end of last year, they were coloring with some crayon cookies they made, melting them in the sun in ice cube trays. So I'm just going to put out a very simple coloring work now. I do need to go find a container for the crayons. Be right back. Okay, I could not find the crayon container that I was looking for, but that's okay. I'll do that when I'm not live. I will go ahead and get the crayons ready. So the container I use is a single mini teeny tiny muffin tin. It's just the right size. Got that at Goodwill. Used to be able had everything I've needed for a while, kind of, but used to find those at Goodwill a lot. They've lasted, 19 years, and they're metal, so that's nice to expose the children, not just to glass and wicker and plastic, but to some metal as well, when it's light like that. So you'll notice I am coloring I am taking the cover off the crayon, peeling the wrapper off. And again, I'll put these in a little container, but I will also have red. So I have a blue marking pen out, so that's why I'm choosing different crayons to put on the tray. Hi, welcome. Oh. And so with the art supplies, I like to have like a different color paint than I have crayons, than I have marking pens, unless sometimes absence of actually being colorblind, which I have had colorblind children usually that can't see red, but just if they can see colors and they're struggling, I might put like all purple out just so I have a lot of chances to talk about purple for a while in nature. So in in nature, I mean not a set lesson, organically. So in the 3 to 6 year old, they have the color tablets, but I don't bring those in here. We just talk about colors in the environment because we're not doing, gradations of shades as a lesson yet. But they can definitely learn their colors. Oh, it's so cute that some of them love to learn certain colors first, like purple might be one color, child's favorite color, yellow might be another. And then I'm putting orange and red because that is a color that children mix up a lot. They mix up pink and purple a lot. And I don't know if it's because they're close in shade so much by this time, or because it evokes a similar emotion, like orange and red make them feel the same, so they think of them. I wish I could, read their minds exactly. So I'll find a container for the orange and red crayons, and that will be the first work. And yes, someone will want to break these crayons, and then I just put out half of it after that, right? Okay, so I think we are going to start like that, and then this was a little scratch work that I had out that I won't have out at the beginning of the year. They'll be added soon enough. And then gluing needs to be set up. Now I do have a student who had the gluing lesson returning, but that student will just have to wait a few weeks before we put that out. It's just one reason to have less out is there's not just so many choices for them that it's overwhelming, and also that it's easier for everyone to tidy up the room because some of them will be learning to tidy for the first time, really. And then I'm going to relocate scissors, I think, to right there. Right, and the Play-Doh. I will keep on the bottom shelf, I think. So we do eventually move to non-hardening clay, but I have Play-Doh out beginning of the year. Right there. And just a bowl. And that will be the same bowl as we transfer to non-hardening clay, but just something simple to learn different ways to mold the Play-Doh with their hands. So they're strengthening their hand and using their fingers in all kinds of different ways. And then soon enough, we'll introduce a tool. All right. I just want to make everything simple for them to pick up after themselves as much as possible. And that way it's not overwhelming to them, right? And then it'll get more complicated, within the first month or so. Okay. Oh, I forgot I have some more practical life that I haven't shown you. And I forget I had it. I just didn't get to it yet. Okay. So, and then I'm noticing this walkway is kind of narrow here. So move that. All right. View. All right. And then we've got wood polishing. So polishing mitt right here, and a polishing applicator. And then a little, to put the polish in. So of course, non-toxic polish. And then we have shoe cleaning. Now, I don't know for sure whether I will have this set up this year because I am retiring, so I'm going to have less cubbies. I might relocate this closer to the cubbies, so I'm not going to mess with it too much. Right? That's what we have out. And this is clothes, which is a developmental aid. It helps prepare them for practical life. So in my mind, logically, that I had out at the end of the year. So my students that were moving on to schools that didn't provide a lunch and they were bringing their own lunch, they could have some practice with different types of containers, including the lunchbox itself. But now I need a simpler open and close. So I will do that. And actually, I'm going to move that down, move wood polishing down, and put my open and close right here. So let's get that ready. Okay. So at the beginning of the year, I went a pretty light basket, so it's easy for those young ones to take to a table. And then I'm going to choose. I've got my whole basket of different items for open and close. And this is a good place where you can have some items that match the season. So maybe some pumpkin containers for fall, some heart containers for the Valentine's Day season, if you acknowledge holidays, or just some spring, themed items. All right, so I'm looking through here, and a good way to get items is to ask your families for them. So I've got a little container here. That'll be pretty easy. So you just want to choose containers where their hands can fit and open it the same way that you're going to present opening them. Let's see what else we got. always need new containers. Okay, here's a little wallet with a snap. Even if they're not able to do the snap yet, they can open and close, and then they can practice with the snap frame. Okay, and then I went 3 items out, I think, at the beginning of the year. What else do I have? Okay. All right. So this one's very simple. All they have to do is put it on and off, on and off. Just missing the washer. We'll wait on that one. Have to repair it. Time of year to go through all your inventory, right? All right. What I'll do, eventually we'll have the Matryoshka dolls out on their own, but I'm just going to put one in here for now. When you first buy these, this one's older, it's just checking how easily it's coming apart. I work with them for a while before I put the whole set out because the wood can be pretty tight in the beginning. All right. So, put that right there. All right, so that's for open and close. Other fun ways to do open and close are with little makeup bags and items. Oh, I might have something here I like better. What do I have? Oh, yes. Yeah, so this is an easy little container. So I might put that in there instead. Put that one in later. It's good to have little items like the Matryoshka dolls to bring in the community's culture, or like items with different types of writing that they can see besides the English language, different art themes. Okay, let's go look at more of our developmental aids. Let's see what's going on here. Okay. Oh, okay, so just right away, there's an item. It should be on Practical Life. So this is our book cleaning. So we'll leave that over here, and I'm just going to make a decision. I'm going to move shoe cleaning. Okay, so on this shelf now, at the end of the year, they were doing jigsaw puzzles, and there are still some coming this year that can do jigsaw puzzles. And I like to have more puzzles out at the beginning of the year because hopefully puzzles are familiar to the students. So I'm going to have this puzzle, and just for my mind, I like to do the easiest to most complicated. So I'm going to go get some more puzzles, bring those back. Okay, so all right, so here are the puzzles I have chosen. Now this one, there's a matching element, so that can be interesting for the older children will have. Like for instance, there is a person hammering, so that might be on a roof. And then for the younger children, it's just easy because it's a rectangle in each spot, but then we can also have conversations, of course, and we would never correct them if they put them in the wrong spot, but oftentimes they invite us over to do puzzles with them. And so that is often really a request for language and interaction, not for help with the puzzle. Sometimes it's for help with the puzzle, but we can talk about what these people might be doing. And then I just like to have, in addition to the books, people throughout the space. So it prompts a lot of conversation, and I start to learn things about them. Like I might start to learn that they have pancakes for breakfast, and they start to share and we start to learn about each other. And then I can say, oh, that's something we have in common. I can ask friends that are available to chat, oh, do you ever eat pancakes? And they can start to see what they have in common. We like to emphasize differences and what we have in common and celebrate both as part of our anti-bias, anti-racist work. So I will start this in a way that makes sense to me. Car on the road. I think he gets reading by the fire, taking a bath, and then just making sure these puzzles are all in good shape. And also when you do have people in puzzles or books, make sure there's a diversity in skin tones and hair color, hair texture as much as you can. I wouldn't ever put a puzzle that has multiple people if they all like are blonde hair and blue eyes, or all brown hair and brown eyes. Try to have diversity. I find it's harder to find puzzles if you know a good source of children with disabilities, and also sometimes just like a variety of ages. So when you see those, grab them. I might not see them again for a while. All right, so there it goes. Yeah, this. And then we have some African. They're all African animals, yeah. And children tend to love animals. They're familiar with animals, either with their toys, or we do have a large zoo next to us that many families go to. But wherever they've learned about different animals, they're familiar with animals. So we can have conversations about what they know about them, what I know about them, where they've seen them. And then as much as possible, we want to have pigs on the puzzle pieces because that helps indirectly their pincher grass. So I'll do that. Okay, and I like to store here for storing puzzles is store them in bays. These will last like as long as you have your school. And then what size are these? What's it say? It's just jumbo. The jumbo size. All my puzzles fit in here, and then I put them in a crate, and that way I can flip through real easily, and I don't. The puzzle pieces fall out. It's no big deal. And then I can look at them without taking a stack of puzzles and going through, and I know really easily where to find the puzzles. So there's that. All right, and then go over here. So this is some developmental aids for threading. So high on the shelf. So let's talk about the order on the shelf. So it is a valid pattern to have, easiest at the top from left to right. That's the traditional way to set up a shelf in the primary 3 to 6 classroom. What can happen is it's difficult for a toddler, 15-month-old, to bend over, pick up a tray, and take it off. And so you want to make sure anything you're offering that's a beginning work that is lower, that everybody who's working with it, let me start over. So any work on the shelf that's on the bottom, you want to make sure that whoever's choosing it can take it off. And since most children will have access to most of the work pretty quickly, we don't want young children to have to pick up something heavy and stand up and take it to a table. So you don't want super heavy work at the bottom. If you have a heavier work, you would want it up higher. So for example, if I had a wooden shape sorting workout right now, it'd be harder for them to pick it up off the bottom shelf. I would put it on the middle shelf. So age and order is one factor, but you also have to consider how heavy the work is, and if that's going to, even for like a 24-month-old, if that's going to be really hard to pick it up from a bottom shelf, but they could manage it pretty easily from a middle shelf because they're not standing, having to stand up, right, with it in their hands. So another thing is safety. So this is my sewing work, which I probably won't have out when I'm first starting. I'll probably just have it out without the needle, and that way when my returning students come back, I know for sure, like I make a mental note, okay, someone has the needle, and then pay extra attention to the person with the needle. Not by the time they're using a needle, I don't usually have to worry about them. It's other people who might approach that work. Okay, so that's another reason to have this work on the top shelf, because I could see people taking it, whereas if it were down here, they could slide it off pretty easily. So if children are well supervised and we're consistent, they can do these bigger works. And of course, it's not a super sharp needle where they could accidentally hurt themselves with it. All right. And then I have a sewing card just for threading here, and that's for once they get more experience with threading. I think I will leave that out for my older returning children this year. And here is a very simple threading vertically for my young ones. Now I don't know them all too well, what they can do after the home visit, and talking with the parents, I'll learn more, but this is when I like satisfying the jingle and the wood. So I'll have that out at the beginning of the year. And then this one, it's a beautiful Mean House circle on dowels. It's actually quite challenging to the younger children. So I am going to bring out, I think, a horizontal dowel for them to work and swap that one out. Okay, so I have the wavy horizontal dowel from Mean House that I'm going to put out. So just always checking that things are in good repair before you put them out. And I will put that at the bottom. Okay, so threading shelf is ready to go. Let's look over here. Okay. What's that for lighting? Okay. So we have our Bible. We do offer catechesis of the Good Shepherd for toddlers. I need to switch out my candle, I can see. Get a new candle, put in my pocket. All right. I will switch out or rearrange our instrument. Oh, someone put an egg from our little egg hanging decoration in with the egg shakers. Need the matching work. Okay, so I'm going to put items with bells in the bottom basket and some shaking items here. All right, put those away. All right. Okay. And then here we have a couch where we can read together or sit during gathering and by gathering, I mean voluntary gatherings. We don't have school time, but they can come over here and they can sit on the couch while we sing together or just to read a book. And then we have some books here to read. Probably pull out Flag book. We did the year right after Flag Day. Again, making sure your books have familiar things at the beginning of the year, but also introducing new concepts. I like to have this out during tours too, because then the parents can learn a little bit about Montessori if the child grabs that book. All right, so animals, eating, pretty familiar. Again, you want diversity of age, gender, skin tones, hair type, age, abilities, different abilities, so that we're introducing that and being mirrors so that they can see themselves in the books, but also windows they can see more of the world. Okay. Okay, so here's our language shelf. So a lot of cards because we had gone through most of our figures by the end of the year. Well, the second year children had seen all of our figures. So we started introducing more cards. So what I had out was types of bears. And had Jesus the Good Shepherd. I had some bread, different types of bread of the world cards out. I had parts of fish, not like 3-part cards like in primer, but something a little different. My husband likes to fish. There are a few families that go fishing and the children go with them last year. So I started teaching them the names of the fish. I'm trying to decide whether I have to save those for this year's family, or I might give them to the one student I particularly made them for when I visit his sister, and then his sister can still use them because they'll be at her house. So I think I might do that. A little gift of those. So the bread and the fish cards coming out. And then, a lot of these. I don't remember how many to make. Okay. So this is the exact match card. So they have a picture of the item, shoulder bag, an actual shoulder bag to place on the shoulder bag. And so that introduces them to the fact that the cards we have at least represent new items. So, and they're also familiar, so that's a good one to have at the beginning of the year. So I might do one shoulder bag and a backpack. They're so familiar with backpacks often as they bring one to school or their sibling does. So I'll have that out at the beginning of the year to introduce that concept. And these we're introducing families. So yeah, just a variety of animals here. So lion pride. Ooh, jellyfish. I forget what a jellyfish is. A smack of jellyfish. So I'll probably take that one out for now. And then cow families. This was for some of the older children to match up. Cow families you can also do, and I do that, is to have figures of animal families too. All right, so we need to think about what we're going to do. So I'm going to need some more baskets and go get my figures so we can get some more figures on the shelf. I will be relocating this actually by the Bible. All right, so I just got a variety of baskets there. Now I'll go get my figure crates. All right, so we've got animals. All right, so let's do the animals first. So we're done with the bears. And so I keep my animals in different crates here with themes. So I have a large cat bag, life cycle ones, frogs, life cycle of a ladybug. So praying mantis. I've got some moose dogs here. Different types of monkeys. Let's see. Okay, sea creatures. So I brought, put, I think, an octopus out. And then I've got a nice photograph of an octopus. So just real simple, easy again to choose, to work with, to clean up with, because this will be a new concept for a lot of children, putting work away in this style. Okay, and then sea creatures, shells, I look for shells. All right, so wild animals, North America. I'm going to start with some domestic animals, because we do want to teach them new animals, but we also want familiar items, right, the first week. So here we go with the bears. And so I'm going to start with the cow and pig. So again, it's hard to get exactly to scale animals, but the pig is significantly smaller than the cow. And then we'll do a horse. All right. So easy grouping, familiar, but then we can have conversations about them. I can find out what they know about horses, what they know about pigs. I can teach them more about all those items. Talk about parts with the older children. So don't worry, like at the beginning of the year, that, oh, my 2.5-year-olds already know all of those. We rotate through language pretty quickly, but I can have a conversation with that. Oh, like which one has hooves? Oh, they all have hooves. Do they have the same type of hooves? Oh, no, they don't. Let's take a look at their hooves. And do all of them have a mane? Oh, no, the pig does not have a mane. So you can get more complicated with language, even with simple figures. So again, language work, they can choose it and look at it by themselves, especially the matching, but really it's meant to be done with an adult, so you can be talking about it, giving them that vocabulary. Okay. So animals, so I think that's enough for animals. Put my bears away. North America. And then Asia, Canada. Let's see. Wild animals, Africa, Australian animals, South American animals, North American. Oh, and primates. Okay. All right. So now I will get my non-animal box. Okay, so I just have this basket of the world, everything that's not an animal, although I I mean, people are technically animals, right? I keep them in my world box, so okay. So can I start with some simple items? So ear protection, so we can, it's a great one for conversation. Some children, parents are more aware of the damage that can be done to children's ears, well, ours too, but, by attending loud events, or it's just uncomfortable in the moment. So I have this out, and we can talk about the names, we can talk about what they do, and then if I see a child wants to wear these a lot, that might tell me something about how they feel about auditory stimulation. But that's not the main purpose, but you can learn a lot from a lot of different tools. All right, so this is going to be a simple protective gear basket to protect your ears and to protect your eyes. We're going to talk about when people might use these. They can try them on so that if they see a family member, friend, or someone out in the community using these, they understand why they're familiar. We want them to learn about their world. All right, and then vehicles is a nice one for the beginning of the school year. I'll probably do that on a tray. Clean up really easy. So this is one where I will probably start with the vehicles. So delivery truck, school bus. Who doesn't love a school bus? So I'm looking at language materials here at the beginning of the year. So we have school bus, delivery truck, police cruiser, and then I will add some cards. So that's why I'm starting with the tray. I said I'll make putting the cards away really easy once they're introduced to that. Okay, I'll put that down there. All right, so again, a lot of times I see classrooms where it's all animals. They love animals, but they love the world and learning about it in general. So do be sure to offer a variety of items, not just animals. Okay, so I'll put my backpack in there. See which one fits best. That fits nicely. Okay, I'll put that one. Okay, so you want these items to be as easy to put away as they are to get out. So there we go. And then I've got my mystery box at the top. So I try to rotate this every week or so, and it's just something with one item. So I'm starting the year with some lavender, and I'll see lavender growing outside too, but it's also nice to just smell, and I do like to keep some pleasant scents for them that can be quite calming for them and help them to concentrate and focus. And I don't necessarily say, oh, you're sad, smell this. But if they're sat in my lap, I'll have it near my adult chair, and I'll just maybe smell it myself and kind of help them center, as well as just being an actual pleasant healing scent. Okay. All right, so now I have to decide where I'm going to put my plants, but I think I will clean up the rest of this and then do that. So I'm just going to stack all my cards and put these with my matching ones. Oh, there's my people bag. People away. All right, so I guess that is it for now for art, developmental aids, and language. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for dropping by, those of you who watched it live. And um, let me know if you'd like to see more of these videos as I rotate different shelves and why, or as I clean up the whole classroom. All right, thanks for watching and take care.